Vocation in Christianity is defined as someone's calling for service to Christ and to others. Hearing that, what do you believe is your vocation?
I think my vocation is to teach and to instruct and to make kind of what people learn here relevant to their day-to-day lives, and as part of their day-to-day lives, something that's relevant to their faith. And so even in class today, kind of what we were talking about in social psychology was about kind of how faith is related to helping behavior in individuals. And I think and being able to talk about those things as part of my vocation is really important, and one of the things that is distinctive about me working here as opposed to working somewhere else, and why I really feel called to be in a place like this. Because we can have interesting conversations about the integration of faith and kind of our discipline and our lives.
How do you see your career or vocation influencing others?
Well, I mean, I guess I hope that kind of through teaching, kind of you have the ability to kind of change people's kind of lives and directions in important ways. Sometimes it's through the information that people receive in classes, and maybe they get inspired that they want to do something, and I guess you hope that that happens from time to time, and that people can really find what their calling is kind of through a class. But also, one of the things that I really hope for is that, you know, when I'm teaching a class like social psychology and we're talking about issues like helping and prejudice and, you know, these things are important, and they're important in day-to-day kind of people's day-to-day lives. And so I hope that people will take those lessons that are more practical and kind of apply them just as they move through their life and interact with their friends and their family and people around them. So.
Does your knowledge of the human body affect your ability to do your job effectively?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this afternoon I'm going to be teaching on mental illness, and so we're going to be talking about things like depression and OCD and phobias, and having some basic understanding of neuroanatomy plays a big part in that, because so much of our modern understanding of disorders is biologically based. And so if I didn't have some basic knowledge of those structures, then I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
From a vocational aspect, does your knowledge of anatomy and physiology help you fulfill your vocation?
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, it's a small piece probably of what I do. Most of what I study is social relationships, and so that doesn't necessarily necessitate an understanding of anatomy and physiology, but I do, you know, teach courses like Psych 101 where we talk about disorders, and so it becomes very important there. You know, also just in terms of helping my students with their own research projects, sometimes it's important as well, because it's an aspect of what my undergraduate students are working on for their own projects, and so it becomes important in that way. But even understanding social psychology, for me, it's got so many biological bases. So, like, you know, do you want to understand kind of why people experience fear? You know, a lot of that we understand from a neurological perspective now. So how do we process it through the systems in the brain, and where do we experience it? And so we're starting to understand a lot of those things as well.
How do you think God's creation of the human body ties in with the field of psychology and the work you do?
I think one of the things that I always talk about, even in my 101 classes from the very beginning, is if there's anything that you're going to learn during this class, the idea that we are kind of wonderfully made is really driven home, because we realize how complex we are. You know, even just kind of, I mean, obviously the nervous system is a very complex system, and kind of how it functions and the speed and the efficiency that it has. For me, it really has always kind of driven home this idea that, you know, we were created for a purpose and created to function in particular ways that are useful. And yeah.
What challenges have you had to overcome to succeed in your career?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, for all of us who have gone through doctoral programs, you know, that presents a fairly major challenge just in terms of kind of learning to balance kind of your studies and your research and your teaching. And those things, when you learn them in graduate school, if you learn them well, serve you as you move into a faculty role. And Concordia is not the only place that I've taught. So I taught at Indiana State for 10 years. And so like going through the tenure process there was a challenge, just because it's a lot of kind of research expectations on top of teaching. And but I feel like you move through those things and that prepares you to be successful later. But definitely those were some challenge points.
So would you say graduate school was your tool to help you overcome your doctoral programs?
Well, I mean, you get a lot of tools kind of along the way, kind of as you go. I think having a good undergraduate foundation really helped when I went into graduate school. And you know, my degree was actually it was kind of a cognitive science type of degree, and really helped me when I went in. But even having an understanding, like as an undergraduate, of things like statistics really helped me to get through that.
Do you believe that understanding the human body as a godly temple will encourage someone to develop a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, I think potentially. The idea that kind of we do have this system that's very complicated and very delicate, and understanding that kind of any changes that we make to it can be potentially problematic, you know, especially when we talk about things like substance use and abuse. I think it's very important to understand how those things impact you, and I think that does sometimes have an impact on how people perceive, you know, kind of perceive the body kind of as something that was created, and something that can malfunction if you don't treat it right. So.
Okay, last question. What advice do you have for a student in your field who might feel confused as to why they're taking anatomy?
I mean, in my mind, and this is what I always say, I think everything that you learn is important. And everything that you learn makes you a more complete person. And so even if you don't see the relevance of something at a particular time, it can be important for you down the line, just understanding kind of, again, how to navigate your world. And, you know, just imagine even something like, you know, health concerns that people have. So having some basic understanding of anatomy and physiology can be very helpful even in understanding those things. But, you know, for people who work kind of in psychology, kind of, I think the thing to remember is that when we talk about the way that people think and the way that people act and the way that people feel, there's a biological basis to that all the time. And so even if you're not actively kind of in your own research studying the anatomy of the brain, it matters in terms of kind of how the brain works. And as you study whatever you're going to study in the field, I can almost guarantee you these days that there will be some type of kind of study of neuroanatomy that goes with it. Something that's going on in the brain kind of underlying the behavior that you're expressing or the way that you think about something. And so I think it's always relevant, you know, to what we do as psychologists.